Hello there, and thank you so much for joining me in this week's video all about how to graph lines in slope-intercept form. If we don't already know each other, my name is Kathy Martin, and I'm the creator of the Prealgebra Teachers Middle School Math membership. We are your one-stop shop for everything you need to teach middle school math. And don't forget, before we begin, I want to invite you to use the link below or above this video, depending on how you're watching it, to grab some of these awesome free resources that I'm about to share with you in this video. And also, before we begin, there is some construction going on where I am, so I do apologize in advance if you hear some background construction noise, but like a good teacher, we go with the flow. If you can hear that, I apologize. Okay, so let's jump right in. So I want to share with you exactly how I teach my students how to graph lines in slope-intercept form so that it makes sense, and more importantly, so that it's easy. Okay, before we even get to graphing, I always have to talk to my students about what exactly slope is. So let's do a quick recap as to what slope is. So we know that slope is rise over run, which is also the change in y over change in x. And the formula to find slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now, this is something that you should have already reviewed with your students before even graphing, but I just wanted to review it really quickly before we dive in. And then before we go further, let's talk about the 4 types of slope. Because if our students know the 4 types of slope, then as they're graphing lines, they'll know whether or not they're on the right track or not, because they know what the 4 types of slope look like. So we know that I always tell my students, okay, if you had a little man on the left side, if he's walking uphill, it's positive slope, okay? If the man is on the left side here and he's walking downhill, it's negative slope. If he's on the left side, he's walking straight, it's 0 slope. It's literally, there's no slope. And then over here, straight up and down, undefined slope. So it's just a good refresher for our students to know the 4 different types of slope before we even get started. Okay, so what is slope-intercept form? That is going to be y equals mx plus b. Okay, so we know that m is our slope, b is our y-intercept. And I always tell my students, okay, when you are graphing, you always begin at b, which is your y-intercept, correct? So b is where we begin. And then m is our slope, which equals how many times we move. And we always move up or down, depending on if it's positive or negative. And then we always move to the left. To the left? To the right. We always move to the right. Okay, so depending on whether if our fraction gives us a positive, we move up. If it's negative, we move down. So let's do some examples of what this looks like. Okay, so here we have, I'm just going to rewrite it like this, 2/3 x minus 3. So remember, this is where we begin. We begin on the y-axis at -3. So here's -3. This is our first point, so it's going to be 0, -3. Now this tells me to move up 2 because it's positive, and then right 3 from our point. Okay, so we go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Boom. And if you want, you can get a third dot. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to look, before we even connect the dots, is this a positive or negative slope? Positive, so our line should move from left to right, correct? Okay, so let's connect these dots, and bam, there we have it. It is positive slope, indeed, so I know probably did something right here. Okay, next, we begin at +1 on the y-axis. So here's our center, we go up 1, and there's our point. Here, I like this because there's no denominator, so it gets my students thinking. So this really, right, we have our, it's really above a 1, our denominator is 1, so we're gonna go down to, because it's negative, and then we're going to go right 1. So from our y-intercept, we're going to go 1, 2, right 1, 1, 2, right 1. And look, is our line, do we have a positive or negative slope? It is negative. So our line should, I didn't do a very good job connecting those dots, did I? But our line should slope negatively, and it does. Okay, and then lastly, I love this one because it's a little bit, kind of confuses our students a little bit. So here I have to ask my students, okay, what's our y-intercept? We don't have one. Okay, great. So it's really, we start at 0, right? Perfect. And so here, again, our denominator is a 1. So we're going to go up 3, right 1. So from here, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, right 1, 1, 2, 3, right 1. So it's a positive slope. So our line should slope in a positive direction. And indeed, it does. And there you have it. If you would like to download a free resource of a note taker, practice problems of exactly how to do this, use the link again above or below this video, depending on how you're watching it, to grab it right now. Again, thank you so much for watching this video. Again, my name is Kathy Martin. We are the Pre-Algebra Teachers Middle School Math Membership, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.